A. Assemblages. Assemblages are already different from strata. They are produced in the strata but operate in zones where milieus become decoded. They begin by extracting a territory from the milieus. Every assemblage is basically territorial. The first concrete rule for assemblages is to discover what territoriality they envelop, for there always is one in their trash can or on their bench. Beckett's characters stake out a territory. Discover the territorial assemblages of someone, human or animal. Home. The territory is made of decoded fragments of all kinds, which are borrowed from the milieus but then assume the value of properties. Even rhythms take on new meaning, refrains. The territory makes the assemblage. The territory is more than the organism and the milieu and the relation between the two. That is why the assemblage goes beyond mere behavior. Hence the importance of the relative distinction between territorial animals and milieu animals. Inasmuch as they are territorial, assemblages still belong to the strata. At least they pertain to them in one of their aspects, and it is under this aspect that we distinguish in every assemblage content from expression. It is necessary to ascertain the content and the expression of each assemblage, to evaluate their real distinction, their reciprocal presupposition, their piecemeal insertions. The reason that the assemblage is not confined to the strata is that expression in it becomes a semiotic system, a regime of signs, and content becomes a pragmatic system, actions and passions. This is the double articulation face, hand, gesture, word, and the reciprocal presupposition between the two. This is the first division of every assemblage. It is simultaneously and inseparably a machinic assemblage and an assemblage of enunciation. In each case it is necessary to ascertain both what is said and what is done. There is a new relation between content and expression that was not yet present in the strata. The statements or expressions express incorporeal transformations that are attributed as such, properties, to bodies or contents. In the strata, expressions do not form signs, nor contents pragmata. So this autonomous zone of incorporeal transformations expressed by the former and attributed to the latter does not appear. Of course, regimes of signs develop only in the alloplastic or anthropomorphic strata, including territorialized animals. But this does not mean that they do not permeate all of the strata and overspill each of them. Assemblages belong to the strata to the extent that the distinction between content and expression still holds for them. We may also think of regimes of signs and pragmatic systems as strata in their own right, in the broad sense previously mentioned. But because the content-expression distinction assumes a new figure, we are already in a different element than that of the strata in the narrow sense. The assemblage is also divided along another axis. Its territoriality, content and expression included, is only a first aspect. The other aspect is constituted by lines of deterritorialization that cut across it and carry it away. These lines are very diverse. Some open the territorial assemblage on to other assemblages. For example, the territorial refrain of the animal becomes a courtship or group refrain. Others operate directly upon the territoriality of the assemblage and open it onto a land that is eccentric, immemorial, or yet to come. For example, the game of territory and the earth in the lead, or in the romantic artist in general. Still others open assemblages onto abstract and cosmic machines that they effectuate. The territoriality of the assemblage originates in a certain decoding of milieus and is just as necessarily extended by lines of deterritorialization. The territory is just as inseparable from deterritorialization as the code from decoding. Following these lines, the assemblage no longer presents an expression distinct from content, only unformed matters, destratified forces, and functions. The concrete rules of assemblage thus operate along these two axes. On the one hand, what is the territoriality of the assemblage? What is the regime of signs and the pragmatic system? On the other hand, what are the cutting edges of deterritorialization, and what abstract machines do they effectuate? The assemblage is tetravalent. 1. Content and expression. 2. Territoriality and deterritorialization. That is why there were 4 aspects in the privileged example of Kafka's assemblages.